Welcome to Level Up. I'm Sharelle.
And I'm Danny, and this is the podcast where we talk about health, fitness, and mindset. Today, we are calling out the BS in the fitness industry. Now, whose idea was this episode?
Have a guess. No, we will keep it pretty PG and clean for today. But we really did want to just be able to have a conversation about some of the things that we see in the fitness industry, because we've been in the industry for a while now. I mean, how long have you been working in the fitness industry for now?
Over 10 years, well before social media.
Yeah. And even prior to that, right, like we've been consuming content, like actively, I guess, pursuing stuff in health, fitness, well-being, nutrition. And yeah, boy, have we come across some stuff. And I think as well, like even as a client, right, or just someone that getting into fitness, that was one level. But now as a coach, right, especially like when you're more educated, you just can't unsee half of the stuff that you see now. And yeah, it's just like cringe moments. But moreover, we really just wanted to be able to talk about some of the things that we see and bring some light to them, because there's still so much BS that goes out on the internet that's sold, and it's not correct, you know what I mean? And so many people are just taken advantage for. So that's really the intention for today, is just to be able to like break through some myths and just enlighten you guys of just some things that you should be mindful of.
It's definitely our duty of care. As you said, we started as consumers, but now, you know, we are coaches.
Yeah.
It's our role to guide other people through this. We've gone through our mistakes. We've learned so much along the way. So it's definitely our duty of care to shine the light on some of the areas that just aren't authentic. And, you know, people are trying to survive and make money. We know that, but it's important to do that through integrity and values. And yeah, there's a lot out there that just sort of goes against our values. And that's why we're here on this platform, just to say, guys, be smart. This is what you should look for. This is what you shouldn't.
Yeah. And in all seriousness as well, like, even though we're probably going to have a laugh today, because there's just some things that I just want to like smack my head against a brick wall and be like, are we still here in 2023? There's still those things. But then there's, like you said, Danny, there's just people out there that are just lying and manipulating and just doing things just literally to make money. And, you know, health and fitness and mental health, like these are important things. Like these are important areas of your life that you need to be going into and investing your hard-earned money and time and energy into areas that you believe in, that you know have the right intention, with people that have the right intention. And unfortunately, the fitness industry is just so unregulated that there's just so many people in there that have gotten a Cert 3 out of a cereal box and can now just coach people, which, you know, is fine, and that's a point we're going to get to. But it's just important as a consumer to be able to make an educated decision based on what you know is like morally, ethically, scientifically correct.
Yeah, and I think it's important to realise if it looks too good to be true, it is. And that comes to our first point, quick fix challenges. As a society, we want everything straight away, whether it be online dating. You know, you can find a partner straight away, or you can do online shopping, or you go to the fridge and get food. Like, we don't really have to try hard anymore to get what we want. Netflix, we can watch any movie that we want. So people are used to having things really quickly, and they sort of put their body composition and their fitness and health goals into that same category. But it sells, but it doesn't work.
Absolutely. Anything that's quick sells. Honestly, we're so impatient as humans. We want something that's quick. And then when people sell, you know, 30 days to 30, you know, minute six pack, whatever it might be, people are very easily persuaded. But for you, I'm curious, like, have you ever done challenges or anything like that in your early days?
Just one, and we have spoken about this before, but there was a company, like a supplement company.
Did we do the same one?
We did the same one.
Those protein bars got us good.
Oh, I've actually still got some in my bag. They're so
They do
yummy.
taste good, yeah.
They're still my favourite.
Except half a bar was one of the snacks. Wasn't a full bar. Do you remember that? The meal plan?
Yeah. So anyway, getting to what we're talking about with half a bar. So you'd print off your little A4, stick it on the fridge. It would tell you the calories. Did it even tell you the workout? I can't remember.
Yeah, there was a workout plan with it.
Yeah, there was a workout plan with it. So that's the first thing that I tried. It didn't last long because it just was not realistic, and it was very low calorie, and there was a lot of exercise involved, and I just tried it for a little bit, and that's about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I can't believe we did the same one. So
I mean, it was popular and
it
there
was
wasn't
popular
much
back
to
then.
choose from, remember?
Nah. So even when we were first getting into fitness, would have that been, maybe not 10 years ago, that one specifically? Or maybe.
2016 or 2015.
Yeah,
just before competing, I
Yeah.
remember.
So, back then, right? It's not even that long ago, really. Like back then, challenges were really just starting. Like they were just starting to gain popularity. And obviously, as humans, we love start and finish dates. We love timelines. We love challenges. We love goals. We love structure. So that's why it's taken off. And Danny and I actually did the same initial challenge. We won't shout out the company because, screw them. But we started out with the same challenge. And I guess challenges were it's different back then, whereas now they've evolved, and I think people have realised the money that can be made in challenges because of those reasons, and how, psychology works and how human works, and how it's easy to put thousands of people through a challenge and just take the 5 people that get an epic result and use them as marketing for everything else. That's pretty mainstream now. But yes, we started with that, and traditional quick fix challenges, they used to be 12 weeks. But what a world we live in now where people can't commit for 12 weeks and everything's 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
Honestly,
isn't it?
even 6 weeks. I actually saw 30-day challenges like popping up everywhere recently. So
God.
they just get shorter and shorter. And that's just because people can't commit. And that's the bigger problem. It's like that's actually the problem. You can't stick with something for long enough to even get a sustainable result, because anything that's gained quickly is also lost quickly. And I've definitely learnt that through lots of yo-yo dieting, trial and error, and actually being like, oh, you know what? There is no quick fix.
The thing is with those 8-week challenges or even 30 days that you mentioned, like they try to cram a complete life overhaul in 30 days.
Yep.
I would love if every 30 days you just add one new habit.
It's
go
not sexy,
for a walk. It's not sexy, but that's the reality. Actually, every 30 days we try to change one thing about your life, and that's actually how it works. But again, it's not sexy. It doesn't sell. People are impatient, and then it's just they fall for marketing and labeling of foods and befores and afters. And the only good thing I think about those, even like F45 challenges and all that, is the community aspect.
Yes, I do like it.
I do like that because it gives people a chance to find like-minded individuals. But I mean, you don't have to put yourself through hectic dieting, crazy workouts and all these things that you won't do after the challenge in order to meet people. There's so many other resources out there.
Yeah, I completely agree. And look, there is a big percentage of the population, and arguably most people when they first start their fitness journey, where they need external accountability and they need like a community around them to go through a similar process, to all be on the same journey and, hold each other accountable in that space too, and have that network. We had that. Like, I think a lot of people need that. And the problem really isn't with all of the challenges, because there's some incredible fitness programs out there and coaching programs and, community circles. And even like you said, I love group fitness for elements of that. I think it's really good at uniting a community, because that's one of the best things that we can use for accountability, is to feel like we belong and a part of something, because we'll stick to the habit. So yes, there's elements that are fantastic, but I feel like a lot of people aren't going into it for that. They go into it for the wrong reasons, and they're going into it for the quick fixes. And I feel like even if I knew that that was one of the main benefits from a challenge, I would have approached it differently, and I probably wouldn't have gone so hard at the wrong things, if that makes sense. Like would have tried to be maybe more involved in the community, or set some different goals, or just have a different lens on why I'm actually doing something extreme.
Yeah, but you don't know what you don't know, right? And the consumer, everyone's definitely getting more aware. In our circle anyway. I mean, you still got people outside of the fitness industry who have no idea, and it is a big epidemic out there of a lack of, healthcare IQ. But the people who are in the industry and utilize all these resources definitely are noticing more the scams, the marketing, false, results. It's not actually correct. Those results probably happened over a year, not 30 days.
Yes.
Things like that. But people will still always try to sell to desperation.
Yeah.
I remember walking around the streets and someone had a flyer up like near my house. It was just after lockdown. There was a flyer saying, lose between 2 and 30 kilos quick. Yeah. That's what it said. 2 and 30 kilos quick. post-COVID. Like, and people, you know how they have those little tabs down the bottom that you pull off? They were all gone.
Oh, yeah.
And I just felt like writing on the sign, like, WTF, mate. Like, what the hell?
Take your business card.
Seriously?
Like, yeah, it's so true. That's very old school, but like obviously people still fall for that.
All the tabs were gone.
Wow.
With the phone number.
God, imagine putting your phone number on a flyer these days. It'd be marketing scam galore. I get enough text messages. Yeah, look, like I said, the challenges is not the issue because there's some great challenges out there. It's just like understanding what you're actually getting into because, it's not the challenge we have the problem with. It's the mentality around the people going into that challenges and what they actually expect from something that's a quick fix, short term, and arguably not sustainable. I mean, like F45, I believe, was called out pretty bad for the meal plans that they were giving out, especially to women, because it was like 1,300 calories. And then, you know, the more group classes you go to, the more points you get. And it's just arguing that like move more, eat less mentality, which expires. Like you can't move more and eat less forever. What happens? We got there, right? We're like, damn, I'm moving a hell of a lot and I'm eating pretty much nothing and I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And I'm losing muscle and I feel like crap, you know, and that's usually when people get to that point, they're like, this isn't working and I need something different, right? And that's usually when people are investing in coaching and going in different directions. And I think everyone needs to get to that point at some stage. Otherwise, you just end up burning yourself out.
Exactly. And all those things keep the healthcare professionals busy, don't they? With all
they really do.
It's sad, but that's definitely a learning curve that people go through. But the resources here now should be stopping people going to that learning curve. Like, don't go through it if you don't have to.
Yeah,
don't be silly.
Maybe. But that's the first one is like, I guess, the scammy nature around how people sell, I guess, physical transformations and challenges. And, you know, like I said, I'm on the fence. Like I love what it's about. And I think like community and learning and going through a process in a group has so many incredible benefits. And even we had that going through comp preps together, right? It's the same sort of thing. It's a challenge. It's got an end date. It's pretty extreme. You've all got your own individual process and that's a little bit different. Everyone's on their own journey, but I love the start and the finish dates of things. I think that's great for people just to anchor in and have goals. But yeah, it's more about the extremes, the shredded six packs and the false promises that a lot of people make around them.
Absolutely. And speaking of false promises and body compositions, AI and photo editing now. So moving on to our next point, in a sense, like nothing is real anymore.
I know.
Online.
It's so hard to know what's real. And I know that we've been back and forth in the DMs, even looking at the amount of people that are just editing and altering their physique. Like, it's just wild because gone are the days where like a little bit of saturation and sharpening is as bad as it gets. Like you were called out. It was like, there's contrast in that. How dare you? And now it's like, mate, that's child's
nothing.
play. That's like a little bit of contrast. Like, come
I still
on.
use a bit of contrast.
Use a bit of contrast, a bit of saturation.
I still
I'm pale.
use the Paris filter. And I know you hate the Paris filter, but it's just been embedded in my movements just to swipe the old thumb across.
Yeah. Look,
I like
nothing
it.
against. I actually
tiny edits.
Look, I've changed my opinion a little bit.
Okay.
Now that all these things are, I'm seeing the real problems.
Yeah.
Right? I'm seeing the real problems of like what it actually is. And I think we have to pick our challenges and we have to pick our battles and go sort of like, yeah, look, you want to, like we wear makeup. Do you know what I mean? There's going to be people that are against makeup, using makeup. Oh, that's
true.
changing your body. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not a yes or a no. It's a sliding scale. It's a spectrum. It's like on how much are we willing to go to? Like on one extreme, it's like what we're going to be talking about. It's completely altering the shape of your body. It's changing your face. It's performance enhancing drugs outside of bodybuilding. It's all of those things on one like extreme end. But then on the other end, it's like completely natural, nothing at all. I don't want hair dye. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's sort of like, it's like, where do you sit? Where do you comfortably sit? It's not one or the other, it's where do you sit? And I think everyone has a different level because if you're on social media and you've been, like a lot of people probably aren't aware of this, but there's one guy in particular, you can look him up, his name's Goob, and he calls out, great, shout him out. and he calls out a lot of people that are editing their physique, and he zooms in and he shows that, you know, where the mirror's warped or the brick's warped or whatever it might be. And sometimes these are high level physique competitors that are absolutely shredded on stage, which I just feel incredibly sad for, because I'm like, you're in the best condition of your life and you still don't feel good enough. And then you editing your physique to go from visually 6% body fat to 5%. You know, what does that actually show your own self-esteem? But then what does that show others? You know, that you can't, you're not worthy of showing up like anything above 5% body fat. And yeah, I just think it's incredibly sad, and it's a bigger problem, and it highlights the expectations that go around on social media, and just a bigger systemic problem in the industry. But I just think it's important for people to be aware of just like what you see is just not what you get on social media anymore.
Technology is so clever now, where you can actually create edits that, if you're smart, that do look so realistic.
But not even, like, there's apps, you can just click it. You don't even have to be smart anymore. It's not Photoshop.
You're smart to not post the bent lines in the background. You have to still be smart to zoom in on the outside of your body and go, is the wall bent behind me? Yes or no? But it does, as you said, like, where do you draw the line? And I think my biggest issue with all of this editing is when you're claiming that it is you to other people. If you want to play around and edit and whatever for your own sake, just for fun, that's fine. But when you're posting it to try and sell a product, when you're posting it to try and make yourself seem different to who you are, that's when I have a problem with it, because then you're actually fooling other people to take their money. Like, that's when it's a problem, I think.
Yeah, it's manipulation.
Yeah.
Right? You're actually manipulating. You know you're doing it. Like, you're like, oh, yeah, I use Paris filter, which, like I said, is just child's play these days. But you're not lying. You know what I mean? You're not being
I'm not
like,
changing my
use
cheeks
use my skincare products and then like airbrushing your face.
Exactly.
So that's the bigger thing. It's like, what's the intention behind it? And, you know, there was one recently that completely blew my mind, where she put up an image of her waist where she'd edited it, selling a waist trainer. But she'd pinched her waist in. Listen to this, gets really bad. I just lost it watching this one. She put up this first photo on her story of her selling her waist, well, the image where she had pinched her waist in. And then the next story where she put the discount code, she'd accidentally uploaded the original.
How dumb can you be?
Oh my God. I just wanted to face palm and be like, honey, not only have you like completely embarrassed yourself, but you just like, this is a big fitness icon too.
Oh,
like,
you're kidding.
Yeah,
it's not just some random.
No, this is a big fitness icon. I'll show you after this.
Show me after
this. This is a big fitness icon. And I actually really liked this person too. And I was like, damn, like,
maybe I know who you're talking about.
You've just, your reputation gone in the click of a fingers when your waist was already snatched. Like, what is wrong with you? Because you're selling a waist trainer as well.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of like, there's people out there that they're good people. Do you know what I mean? They're not bad people. They've just got the wrong intentions in mind.
If you lie, you need to ride that lie out forever.
Own it. You own it.
It's exhausting. Like, people worry about being themselves, and that's a whole nother topic, because you need to have confidence to be yourself, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's harder to lie because you have to maintain that lie 24/7. And then everything you post, you have to like triple check to maintain the lie.
Yeah.
It blows my mind.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. And there was another one that was so funny. They faked a squat PB, but what they did was posted them squatting down and then reversed the video to make it look like, because they lowered the weight. Let's just say they had 100 kilos on their back. They lowered it, cut the video, and then just replayed that when they came back up backwards. So it looked like they lifted it back up. But then, Goob as well. He's so funny.
Someone just like reversed.
We got to be on his good side. Yeah, because then down the bottom you can see the breathing and the bracing was backwards. So it was actually just a reverse lowering of the weight. She didn't actually bring it up. It was just reversed. And it's like,
see, like, to me, I can't even fathom why someone would do that. Like, this is beyond a Paris filter. This is beyond a Paris filter. But yeah, it's becoming a bit of a problem. And the more that this becomes to unfold, the more I'm realizing how warped the fitness industry is in particular. The fitness community, like not even just people like sharing their journey, but leaders in their space, role models, coaches, influencers with millions of followers. Like that's where it's concerning. I sort of feel like I'm like, what's even real anymore? You know what I mean? Like, what's even achievable? What's even reality? It makes you really question those things because, you know, we used to talk about lighting and angles, and now that's just not even the thing. It's not lighting and angles. It's freaking AI. It's not even Photoshop. It's just the next app that's come out that does it for you. And it's sort of like, it almost, I don't know, it could do something positive for fitness because it becomes that rare commodity that it should be, where it's like you get in what you put out. You know what I mean? Whereas a lot of these people, they don't, except for the competitors, but they're just using it as a quick fix, right? And we know that it's actually not sustainable. Like one of the worst insults for me would be someone meeting me in life and be like, damn, you look different.
Yeah.
You know, that would be I'd be like, ugh, I'd feel sick. Like I want people to meet me and be like, you're exactly what I thought you'd be. Like not even just physically, but just as a person.
Yeah.
And it goes beyond just like how you pose on Instagram. It's like how you show up and how you present yourself and how you speak. And like I think podcasting is one of the most exposing platforms that you can put yourself on because there's no script. It's just you've got to be you. And a lot of people don't have podcasts or do long form content for that exact reason because they don't want to be put on a show like that.
Yeah, I was talking because I was staying at Mum's before here in Melbourne, and she's like, how do you guys just talk for so long? Like, isn't it hard? I go, no, we literally just show up and it's like we're having a coffee together and we're just talking and being ourselves. Like, I find podcasting easier than if someone said, hey, you have to say this script for 30 seconds on a camera.
Yeah.
But again, it's just because we have worked so hard on being so comfortable within ourselves that we have created this brand based off our true personalities with our accents.
Yes. Yeah. I was just laughing. Yeah, I completely agree. And look, even like content creation in itself, like when I first started posting on social media, 100% I would pick myself apart and critique everything and you know have that perfectionism show up not only from the content but how I was presenting and looking as well. Whereas now, because I produce so much and I feel like I'm always in front of a camera, and not only that, but I don't do my own edits half of the time. Someone else is actually editing for me, so I don't get to pick the angles.
True.
I will see it and I'll be like, you know, if I was editing myself, I probably would have cropped that or changed that or maybe filmed it in a different angle if I was recording it myself or whatever. But it's actually helped me let go of that. And be like, you know what, like this is how people would see me if I was demonstrating a squat at the gym, like if I was working with a client in person or if someone just walked past and saw me. So if I can have the confidence and the self-esteem to show up exactly as I am, exactly as someone else thought I should be, you know, because someone else has presented this to me and said this is a really good piece of content, I'm always going to have that inner critic that's going to pick out and find things because we do that. We look in the mirror and we find the areas we don't like, not necessarily the ones that we like about ourselves. It's just a normal, innate thing that we do with a negative bias in our mind. So, yeah, I think it's okay to feel insecure and it's okay to feel uncomfortable. It's just what you do with that feedback you give to yourself. Like if I feel that, I don't jump on and just airbrush out my cellulite, or I don't go, nah, scrap that, I'm going to re-record it. I go, fuck it, post the content. Do you know what I mean? Because if I post it and I own my insecurities, no one has power over giving that back to me. Like if someone's going to call that out and be like, you've got cellulite, I'll be like, yeah, so what? Like I know,
you probably do it too.
Yeah, so who cares? Yeah. You know, that's what makes you relatable, and that's actually what gives you the power back. Because I'm like, if you can let go of insecurity, it's the single thing that stops people from even showing up anywhere, online, speaking, podcasting, posting more, doing things. It's insecurity. So if you can manage that, your own internal state around your own beliefs and perceptions of yourself, because really it's usually only you that sees it, not really anyone else. And if they do, it's always some guy without a profile picture that just comments shade. Why?
With like 2 followers.
Literally. But yeah, I think that's when you get the power back. And it's like, just flex a little bit of willpower around scratching that itch of making things perfect and airbrushing everything and changing the angle. Even if you want to, like, it's a great way just to practice letting go of that and being okay with it.
Perfectly said. And I mean, you need a minimum standard that we hold ourselves to. So our mediocre might have been our best 10 years ago.
Yes.
You know, so it's all relative, but it's perfect because you can when you look at people that we love watching, for example, whether it be in movies or on social media, they're not perfect, poised, reserved. We are drawn to people with a personality. They're a bit quirky. They're different. They're themselves. Imperfections. So you can just sense the ones that are trying too hard, and you can just feel that awkwardness and that exhaustion of always trying to have every hair in place and makeup and don't say the wrong thing and sit up straight. It's just awkward to watch, and I feel like maybe two years ago or 3 years ago there was so much of it, but I really think it is reversing. And we are drawn to people now who are looking a little bit different, in a sense that they are looking like themselves.
Yeah.
Because for a while, people just morphed into the one look. And yes, I get Botox. Yes, I get fillers. Yes, I've had my boobs done. But I feel like I'm still me. And yeah, it's just interesting. I really feel like it's going to reverse again to an extent. And we already see it with, body positivity and acceptance and all of that. But that high expectation, I feel like, is slowly being let go of.
Yeah.
I mean, you still have the beauty industry, and it's all different. It depends on what industry you're in, but I'm really enjoying seeing people being more of them.
Yep.
Because that's what we're doing too.
Yep. And I mean, like, it's the same, like with trends, there's an evolution. It starts off as like a rare commodity where people are attracted to it because it's rare and it's hard to obtain, or it's different, or it's unique, and more people flock to it and they replicate it and they want that trend. It's like, oh, I've got the new thing, blah, blah, blah. And then once a trend becomes popular and mainstream, it loses its coolness.
Yeah.
Because everyone's got it. So it's no longer a rare commodity. So therefore people don't want it. And you see that all the time. I mean, like, remember when skinny was like the coolest thing ever?
Yeah.
And everyone wanted to be really skinny. And then it sort of went strong, and it'll go back. Do you know what I mean? It'll go back. I freaking hope not, but it will. Everything always repeats itself. History always repeats itself. And the same with fashion trends.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like,
which I'm loving.
I'm in me flared baggy jeans now. Would have died 14-year-old Sherelle. Where's me skinnies at? So, everything always repeats itself because of trend cycles. So it's hard to not go into that with yourself. And I mean, like, even the BBL era, right? Like, people are getting that reversed now, and it's sort of like there's lots of movement and change just based on trends itself.
Yeah. One thing that I think won't come back is all of the waist trainers and diet pills and fads. You can't unlearn it though.
No.
I think if you've realized the bullshit in those things, you will not get sucked into them again.
Yep.
Honestly. But what we're noticing now, and moving on to the next, all of those add-ons that people are just drawn to, in a sense, like, if you don't know about it, you might get sucked in because of clever marketing and all of that. But once you learn it, I really don't feel like it'll come back. But there's a pill, and I can't remember the name, that the doctors are prescribing for weight loss now.
Yes.
Hasn't it it's got to do with diabetes, or people who have diabetes.
Yep.
And even I've had some people reach out to me and say, yeah, like, my doctor gave me this, I don't really want to take it. And even though there's resistance from the patients, they're still being prescribed this weight loss pill, and it just blows my mind.
Yep, 100%. When I used to work in emergency as a nurse, there's two situations that I'll forever remember, because I was only 21, I think, myself. I was only pretty young. The first one was, there was this young girl who would have been still in high school. She got admitted into the ED for like overdosing or over-consuming on like skinny teas.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. So like pretty much, I don't even know if they're still around. This is going back a while, but I don't want to name the brand, but there's a lot of different brands where you take these teas and they basically just act as a diuretic, as well as upsetting your stomach and making you have diarrhea.
Laxatives.
Yes, laxatives, correct. And basically, they just send your stomach into mayhem and your guts in mayhem. And she almost had to have a bowel perforation, or a bowel resection, I should say. She nearly had to have a bowel resection and lose part of her bowel because she'd taken so much of it and just been like consuming it. And she was very underweight and everything. And I was like,
well, that's an eating disorder.
Yes, and that's an eating disorder as well. But it's like, unfortunately, she'd use these things that have long life lasting effects. And then the other thing that you were speaking to is like a lot of people stealing their grandparents' diabetic medications, which is like so dangerous because it changes the way that your body utilizes glucose. And yeah, you're right. Like, I mean, the epidemic that we're in at the moment with diet pills is beyond just like herbs on a shelf now. It's sort of people have got access to the internet. Performance enhancing drugs are becoming more common and more spoken about online. And yes, I understand people are trying to educate as well, but they're not educating on the realities, are they? They're educating on the benefits rather than like the unfortunate side effects that you hear about. So yeah, it's just, this is why it's important, because it's not just about aesthetics. Like, it's about your overall health, and what you do like has long lasting effects. And it's like, if you had to have a bowel resection at 16 and you had a stoma the rest of your life, like that's lifelong. And a lot of people do those things without being fully informed and fully educated.
Because where is the education?
Yeah,
I mean, obviously our podcast, but like,
obviously,
if you can't get education from a GP or schools are different. I'm not going to rag on schools anymore because teachers are awesome these days.
Yeah, they do a good job.
They're really implementing modern age health and wellness, which is great, but like, it's still quite hard to find. And if you get a Gen Pop person who just wants to change themselves, they're uneducated, they don't know where to get that education, so they go to their GP. The GP gives them the pill, they're going to take it. They go, oh, well, the doctor said it's good. It must be great.
Yeah.
And then they lose weight on it because that's what they do. They lose their appetite. But it's just so wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that will ever change.
Yeah. I've also had like a couple of friends that have gone down that pathway where, and you just got to sit there and like listen. And I would never judge anyone for the choices that they make around those things, because everyone just makes the decision based on the information that they've got access to and their current level of knowledge. And as we know, when it comes to health, fitness and nutrition, it's not very high. So everyone makes the best educated decision. But you're right, when it's the health professionals that are saying, yes, do this, instead of maybe asking them about what their exercise routine's like or their lifestyle's like, or, what their goals are, what realistically they want to actually get down to. Because some people have some pretty crazy like expectations of getting down to their 16-year-old weight. Yeah, it just never ends well. And, I've had a couple of conversations with friends that have gone down that pathway, because it's something I've just never, ever even thought second about. You know what I mean? Ever, of like, going to get a medication to lose weight, right? But yeah, when I've talked to friends and they would go in and they just say, yeah, like, it's so easy just to get it. It's just so easy. And they might drop 5 to 10 kilos in a pretty short period of time. But by the time I see them next, they've just gained the weight back. And it's not sustainable. Like, the way it works just suppresses your appetite. So as soon as you stop taking the pill, your lifestyle doesn't change, your habits haven't changed, and you're going to go back to exactly the same place where you were, except now you're going to feel guilty and also have shame associated with being a failure, which makes it 10 times worse. So I just think it's such a big problem because, it's just from a healthcare level, we're being let down. From an education level, we're being let down. From a social media level, we're being let down. And just everyone is letting us down when it comes to just being healthy. Hey guys, if you're enjoying the episode, please share it with a friend or share it on your socials, and don't forget to tag us.
That's why I think people, which it's not well known, but if you want to change your nutrition and your body composition, and I'm not even talking about reaching out to a coach, go to a naturopath, go to a dietitian or a nutritionist. Yeah. Someone who's actually qualified to give you nutrition advice.
Yeah. Do you know what's hard though is I understand about, the cost of living and everything these days too. And it's so hard to get access to good information because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know that you could listen to Level Up and change your life. Like, you don't know where to go. You think your doctor would have all the right information that you need. And the people that need this sort of stuff the most don't have access to it. And, even in rural and remote places, like coming from someone that grew up, there is nothing there. There is nothing there that you can get access to. I don't even know if that, honestly, I don't even know if where I grew up has naturopaths. I don't even know if they would have that service there. So, it's a bigger level thing. And I think perspective is so important when it comes to these things as well, because for some people, it's like, hey, just give up soft drink and stop smoking. Your life will drastically improve from doing that simple thing. But that's not the way they think. They don't even know to think. And I've given, for example, I've had a couple of friends in the past that aren't into health and fitness, where I've even passed on like Atomic Habits, James Clear's book, and they've just never heard of it.
Yeah.
To me, I'm like,
did they read it?
Oh, I don't know.
But you did your best
I
and
did
you
my
gave
bit.
them the book.
But to me, I'm like, oh, it's the Bible. Like,
That
don't
is
you
the
know
Bible.
Who James Clear is? Atomic Habits.
Jimbo.
Yes, but you know when you actually like perspective, so powerful. It's why I'm so grateful for my experience as a nurse, because you see real problems and you're like, you see where people are really at, of knowing where to go for information. But it starts from the bottom up, bottom down. Sorry, it starts from a bigger problem of like how we get there, and there's only so much we can do, right? Like you said, I can give the book, but if people want to do it or not, like that's their choice.
Exactly. And I suppose everyone who listens to our work here, and if you can just spread the message to one or two people, and then hopefully
Yep.
it's just word of mouth. And
Yes.
if you find a great healthcare professional, then just refer them lots of people. And I
Yeah.
think that's the only way for now, to be honest. But
Yeah.
if people don't want to help themselves, then we just have to be an influence to ourselves, and maybe they'll want to change just by looking at how we're changing our life. But I've had to learn it. I'm sure you have as well. You can't just force people to change. Maybe they don't want to. Maybe
Yeah.
they like being unhealthy because it means that they can be social, go down to the pub, have some drinks, smoke, and that makes them happy. Like
Yeah.
not everyone actually wants optimal health and wellness, which blows my mind. But
I know. And it's hard for us to fathom that, because I'm like, oh, why wouldn't you want that? Why wouldn't you want that? But I just understand that that's just such a strong belief that we've got, such a strong bias, because there's people that like fishing, and I just couldn't think of anything worse than spending my day on a fishing boat, you know. But and the same with, like, I remember having this with Luke, like, you know, video games. I just can't fathom it. But I also understand that that's just, it's the same as partying, right? Like that used to be my scene, but now I just couldn't imagine it. And I guess your values shift and change, which changes your interest over time.
yeah, exactly right. Should we move on?
Should.
Oh, bodybuilding industry.
Bum, bum, bum. We sort of touched on this earlier, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely changed a lot over the last, I don't know, maybe 3 years. It's really shifted. I think COVID changed it for a lot of people, you know, perspective, what's important, why you're doing it, when the stage isn't there, why you're still doing it. Like all of those things really changed people's perspective. But it's also one of those things that you can see it when you're in it, but it looks different when you're on the outside too, right? Like the perception of how people see bodybuilding and bodybuilders is so different to like what it actually is. But I just think as a whole, the industry's shifted and it's just changed so much. I don't know whether you've noticed that.
Social media.
Yep.
That's the only thing, big variable that I can pinpoint the shift to, because people are doing it for validation, yes, careers, which is great because we used it to enhance our image at the start and grow our profiles. But like, even when I speak to my dad about it still, because he was a bodybuilder.
Oh, he was. Dad,
he was really good actually. And he goes, we didn't have any of these phones. We would just get in there and train. And he still reckons that if he had social media back then, he'd have 1 million followers now because he was that good. I'm like, sure, Dad. Jono. But he goes, you literally just go in, head down, catch up with your small circle of mates in there. You might even train in the garage. And then that's it. Do your shows. You didn't have to prove yourself to like... Well, obviously, there's still a small community that people like that validation from and to prove themselves, but now it's on a mass scale. And there was no photo editing back then. It was like, you know, really old school filmed photos. Even if you took any, you might not have. Or you might have an appearance in a newspaper, a small article, because it was sort of so outside the box back then to be a bodybuilder in the 80s. Whereas now people are just thinking that if they embark on this journey that they get credibility, they can make money off people, they get validated, all their life problems are solved. But what it actually does is, and you mentioned, you know, taking your power back, you put yourself in a position where you give your power to everyone. All those judgmental eyes that you notice because you're on social media posting about your journey, like people's mental health is declining.
Yeah.
A lot of people's mental health is declining. I mean, we loved our bodybuilding journey. We did it in such a healthy way at the right time. But I feel like now, if people are trying to stand out, you have to go above and beyond because we did it so long ago. And it's as if the new people are almost left behind. So it's like, cool, you enter the industry, same shit. It's the same shit that everyone else is doing. So people still want to stand out. They have to do something wild, absolutely crazy in order to stand out. And it might not even be in a good way.
Yeah.
So the boat's gone, I think.
When you say that they have to do it differently, what do you feel like needs to be done differently?
I just feel like people are really selling their souls.
Yeah. How do you notice that?
And I suppose this is my lens and my values, and I know everyone's just out there, but in order to stand out, you really, and this is in every sport, you got to play the game. You need connections. You need to be the one front and center.
About who you know.
Who you know. And look, that's in everything in life,
Yeah.
and that's great. But I just see a lot of people who are hurting, but putting their values aside in order to play the game in a way that just does not sit right with me. It might sit right with them, but I feel like when you're an observer, you can notice it in other people. Whereas if you're stuck in that game, it's very hard to see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I meant by when you're on the outside, you just see it differently. You're looking in rather than outwards. It's hard to see when you're in anything, to be honest, because you've got rose-coloured glasses for everything. You think everything's amazing.
Yeah.
But when you're on the outside and you've got no emotional attachment, like there's no consequence, there's no bias, there's no swing you either way. It's not good nor bad, it's neutral. You actually can see it more objectively for what it is. Like you can put your objective lens on and be rational about like, I wonder if this, and you can get curious and ask yourself questions that you just wouldn't have otherwise, because the most difficult beliefs to break are the ones that we believe in, right? So when we have a belief, we can't see it. We're not questioning it. And someone else questions it and all of a sudden they're attacking us, right? That's how we feel. We're like, oh, they're judging me. But it's not. They're just asking a question that you probably are uncomfortable answering. So yes, I completely agree. I think that with the changes to the bodybuilding industry, the lowering of the standards, through introducing different categories, different federations, making it more accepting and more accessible, it's done that. It's made everyone be able to become that person. And the social validation, like, it's addictive. We like it as humans.
Absolutely.
Like, social status is what makes the world go round, right? Because people are attracted to a leader that is leading people, that has influence, that is making change or appearing to. And we're attracted to that, right? Like, it's why directness and assertiveness comes across so compelling to people, because we want to be led by a confident leader. So people love that influence part, and the validation sort of fuels into that. But that's not bodybuilding. That shouldn't be a part of bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is like a sport, or it's a hobby, or it's an interest, or it's a way of training. It's like we're talking about two separate things. And you're right, social media's connected the two. It's made bodybuilding actually from this. Whereas probably when you're, especially for females, like when your dad was going through his competing career, wouldn't have been the cool thing to do. Like,
No.
heck, when we started, it wasn't the cool thing to do. It was sort of like still a bit, nah. Whereas now people are seeing it as a stepping stone to starting their fitness career. And I just don't know about that. I just don't know if that's the right decision. I know we did, but I can hand on my heart say that I never got into competing for a career because I was in a completely different one at the time. It was a hobby that I had. It was not a decision I made for business, because I would have never been able to put in the work or the energy or the time or the commitment to be a top athlete if I wanted to be a coach, because you just, honestly, you can't be a top athlete and a top coach at the same time. They're sort of conflicting. You're an athlete or you're a coach, and you excel at one and the other one's an accessory.
Yep.
And, you know, when I'm choosing coaches, I choose coaches, not athletes for that reason.
Definitely, because when you're 4 weeks out, you're so tired.
Yeah, you're hungry.
You're hungry, you know, you're spending all your time in the gym training. The last thing you're doing is working. Or if you are working, it's not going to be great quality work that you're putting out. But I really think, and I'm aware that we have our personal biases, and when we both started competing, we were a lot younger.
Yeah.
Things were more innocent, I feel. Well, in my lens, I know there's all kind of stuff on the internet back then too, but my lens was not on that. Like, I was just focused on our little group of people and meeting people, and we still took photos of ourselves that were provocative. I get it, but I just feel like it wasn't at the level of sexualization.
Well, OnlyFans wasn't a thing.
The OnlyFans wasn't a thing, and even if it was, like, look, I can appreciate someone who looks good and they put themselves out there and they take photos like that. Like, I'm not going to be a prude and say, oh, don't show yourself like that on social media. But for some reason, they are just so intertwined, bodybuilding and sexualization. It's like there's no flexing. I'm not looking at your physique right now as an athlete. I'm staring right up your ass in some of the photos, and it's like, cool, but the industry should be separate. The porn industry, fine. It's a massive multi-million-dollar industry. I get it, but why do people think that they have to put out soft porn pictures to be a good bodybuilder? That's what's...
Well, why do you think?
Because it gets more attention. But that's not the sport.
No,
it's like
but that
being
is
a
what
good tennis
elements-
player. But it's like being a good tennis player, but you have to post half-naked photos of yourself. That's not going to make you better at tennis.
But that's why we're saying the industry's fucked up. Because it's not. I used to like preach that bodybuilding was a sport, but it's actually slapped me in the face that it's got nothing to do with performance anymore. Slapped me in the face because I was ignorant to it. I was like, if I have the best body on stage, I'll win. Like, I was like, I'll freaking win because I'll do the work. And then it was, I probably a couple of years in realised I'm like, I had the best body on that stage. I didn't win.
Yeah.
What's marketability? Think that it's changed, and that's what's changed. It's sort of like there's more layers, and look, that's fine. Like you said, people play the game. That's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. But it's all about making informed decisions, and it's all about like making sure that people are just aware of what that looks like. And you're so right. Sex appeal sells. It sells in every industry. It sells, like you said, multi-billion-dollar like industries from sex appeal, and like that's fine as well. Like, we've got no problem against that. We're just saying that it's mixing fitness. Do you know what I mean? Like it's really moving away from that. And I'm all about empowering women and educating women and building confidence and self-esteem, but it might look like self-esteem from the outside. It couldn't be more opposite for some people. Not everyone, but for some people it's like I feel bad for them. I hurt for them that's what they feel like they have to do.
Yeah, just if you're uncomfortable, don't do it.
Yeah.
Like, don't feel like you have to sell your soul to get approval from people that you're not going to care about in 2 years.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just in any industry, and easier said than done. And just give yourself the space to recognize and ask yourself, how do I feel about this situation? Am I starting to lose my values and doing things that I don't like?
It's going against my morals.
Against my morals, just ask yourself the question. And if it's not, and you're feeling fabulous and you want to take that sexy shot, take it, post it, enjoy it, love it.
Yeah.
But if you don't enjoy how you feel, don't do it. You don't need to.
Absolutely. And, I know we've spoken about this in the past, especially for coaches, but you don't have to be shredded and get on stage and be a pro to be a coach. Like, unless you want to be a comp prep coach, like, you've got to walk the walk, of course, if you want to be a comp prep coach. But the majority of people in our little niche and industry, they don't. They actually don't want that. They don't want to coach people like that because they know how freaking hard it is. So it's not something you have to do. And I just feel like you really don't. Like, you don't have to pave your own path, like go down your own avenue. You don't have to do what everyone else does. And even building off what we're talking about with trends, it's actually probably more favorable for you to do the opposite and to like really just put in the time and energy that you're going to get out, because a lot of people putting time and energy into stuff that's not actually going to get the outcome that you want, right? Like, competing won't make your business better. Might get you more likes on Instagram, but that's not correlated. So it's just about understanding like why you're doing certain things. And it's also okay if your morals and values change, like ours did, you know, like ours have changed, and we loved that stage of our life and what we did and everything. But when we grow, when things change and our interests change and our hobbies change and our direction changes, like everything else changes as a ripple effect. And sometimes there's resistance around that. It's like it takes a while to figure it out. Like, you're a little bit confused. You're like, one thing you say this, and then the next day you're like, I'm doing this though.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's just about understanding that the industry itself, like bodybuilding's so small, it's so niched. It should be looked at as a sport, but it's sort of a bit blurry at the moment. So just be mindful when you're looking in that little space.
Yeah, we're not here to put every single person off bodybuilding.
Absolutely not.
That was the best time of our lives at that stage. So it's more just like it's become too common. People are doing it who shouldn't be doing it. So if you're one of those people who shouldn't be doing it, don't feel like you have to. if you love bodybuilding and you're really good at it and you're competitive and, you know, you're going to get all the things that you want out of it, do it. But it's just like more people are doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to say.
Yes, a lot of people do it for the wrong reasons rather than the right reasons.
Yeah.
Summed it up in one line. Yeah. The other thing that we wanted to shed some light on that is a little bit hit and miss in the fitness industry is just scams and incompetent coaches. And I say that because it sounds a bit harsh, incompetent coaches, but we're going to unpack what that actually means because, you know, anyone can put coach in their bio now and become a coach. And there is no certification, there's no qualification to make you a good coach either, right? Like there's nothing you have to do in order to be able to have that title, right? It's very different. And someone asked me the other day, because I refer to myself as a coach rather than just a personal trainer. Personal training to me is different to coaching. And someone asked me what the difference was. And I was like, that's a really good question because to us, we say coach, but a lot of people probably don't know what that actually means unless they've had coaching in the past or they're in the industry. Like from the outside, people are like, well, do I need a personal trainer? Do I need like a strength and conditioning coach? Do I need an online coach? Like what's the difference? And there is a big difference, right? But when there's no clear line of what's what, it allows this gray area for other types of coaching, other styles of coaching to come into play. And there's a lot of incredible coaches out there. There's a lot of incredible services that we have access to now online. Like if you want a coach for almost anything, I'm sure you can find it. But there is a clear difference. And like I said, because there's that grey area, you just have to be more cautious, I guess, when you're going into looking for a coach.
Yeah, I suppose there's two reasons that I can think of why people are getting confused on who to turn to. One is because, as you said, you can literally change your name to anything when you're not qualified. All you have to do is change your Instagram, log onto your account, press edit and write something in the box, you know, and that's how you become what you are. But then I think a more positive way is people are learning skills that are outside of their initial studies. So you might receive a degree in something or a certification in something, but then they are realizing that the learning doesn't stop there. So they're expanding. So then they no longer identify just with that initial achievement. They're kind of creating a title that encompasses everything that they are. So one's the polar opposite of the other. But then in a sense, like I think of a coach as someone that gets you from A to B, like Cinderella in The Pumpkin. That's a coach.
Yes,
like it's taking her to the ball.
the pumpkin.
That's how I remember for some weird reason what's in my brain.
That.
A coach is a vehicle that you get
It's a vehicle.
you know, that takes you from A to B.
Mind blown.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a personal trainer is someone who's there personally training you. But there are coaches in everything, but I think there's a big problem in a sense that people are just claiming to be, and I love the confidence because we're here to teach people to become, we're here to teach people to be confident. But if you're 18, you can't be my life coach. What are you going to help me with, man? You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Oh,
I love the confidence though, but it's dangerous territory.
it is really dangerous territory. You are so right. One of the best things about coaches is they expose you to beliefs you didn't know that you had, right? They say, actually, that's probably not correct. This is a different way. Have you considered this? And they coach you in that way.
Cute.
The other thing that they do is they collapse time. Like you said, it took us a decade to get here. It frustrates me how quickly I can get a client from A to B because I'm like, oh, you have no idea how long it took me to figure that out. And you're like, oh, that was great, right? Like I'm like, you guys so lucky, so lucky.
They know it.
So yeah, they collapse time for you, and they have ultimately learnt the lessons, the hard lessons, and they're passing them on to you so you don't have to learn them, right? Like sometimes we have to learn things the hard way, but not necessarily. Someone's figured it out. Like someone has almost always figured out every single problem that you've got. You just don't know the right person to go to, right? And that's the hard part about a coach is like you've got to find that person and be able to put your faith and trust in them. Because at the end of the day, we always invest in one of two ways, financially or time. You have to pick and put forward the commodity that you value the least. So when people say, oh, something's too expensive or whatever, they value their time they value their money over their time. So they're like, no, I'd rather just spend the time to figure it out. And that's okay, right? And the opposite's true as well. I 100% value my time sort of more than money reasonably. So usually I'm happy to invest in things, but not everyone is, and that's also okay too. So when it comes to coaching, there is a lot of scammy coaches out there, a hell of a lot. Like I get emails all of the time and DMs and messages of people that want to coach me on stuff that I'm like, do you even know me? Like you're telling me, like, I don't even know. Like you can tell that they don't know who you are. It's just a cold outreach that they've just said something about whether you need help with this.
Yeah.
And they're everywhere. And I couldn't imagine that if I didn't have context that it could look like someone's actually trying to help and reach out, etc. But there's just a lot of scams. And fitness is one thing. I think we've touched on that with the challenges, but business coaching, mindset coaching, life coaching, relationship coaching. Like, are you kidding me? All these things, like I get it, but there's so much scam going in there. And I feel bad for the ones that are actually doing a good job, because there's a lot of really good, incredible coaches out there in every industry, in every area. There's good and bad in everything. But I just feel like there's a big percentage of that area, those areas there, that are getting let down by everyone else that's scamming them around them.
Yes. And I think what people really need to look for, you mentioned business, relationship, all these types of coaches. If you're looking for someone to help you with those areas, take your time to stalk the crap out of that person, Google them. If you're reaching out for their business, Google their business. What are they doing? What's their revenue? Because a real business coach won't have their revenue in their bio. They're not going to prove to you how much they're worth, because they're too busy not needing the validation, because they've done a great job in their business. So if I were to get a business coach, I would actually get someone who has a business. And now they've gotten their business to a point where they don't need to work in it and on it so much. It's kind of running itself in a way, but then now the next phase for them is to help other business owners. That's who I would reach out to. So just be mindful. And personally, I think it's easy to find a scamming person, but I don't know, when you're desperate, when you're new to things and people tell you what you want to hear, you get sucked in. But do your research on the person, not on their marketing. They might be really good at sending out emails that get you on an emotional journey, but look into what they actually do. And when it comes to relationship coaching and life coaching, I mean, you need some level of qualification to do with psychology.
Yes.
So there are a lot of people playing with people's emotions and psychological and mental health where they just don't have the experience, because once you open that can of worms, it can be very detrimental. And sometimes people don't need to explore their deepest, darkest things that they're suppressing in their life. Like, it's called being allowed to move on as well. So for the coaches that sort of, I don't know, again, it's confidence and passion, and people do want to help other people, but you need to tread carefully when it comes to the mindset stuff. There's a reason why a psychology degree is like 8 years. Honestly, you can't just do a course and then just dive into people's mind and subconscious. I just can't, man.
Yeah, I completely agree. One of my biggest icks in the fitness industry is fitness coaches turning mindset life coaches. Like it like you said, when you've got an understanding, and I feel like I have the authority with a healthcare background to actually say, if you're going to open up Pandora's box, you better know what to do with the information. Like there's been, and I was actually like, I remember when I was working as a midwife, you would go through people's histories and you'd be like, wow, some people have had really hard lives. And I just couldn't imagine making this person do shadow work, or asking them about their traumas, or like their energy leaks or their feminine energy. Like I couldn't imagine just like getting someone to talk about these things over a Zoom meeting with me in an unsafe container or space. So I just think it's more along the lines of like, we just have to be so careful, because you're dealing with people's mental health, and it's so serious. It's just as serious as physical health, right? Like your mental health is so important. And like you said, there's a reason why a psychology degree is like 8 years. It's because it takes a very long time to not only become self-aware yourself, but then also to be able to teach that to other people and allow them to process things in a really healthy manner. And it's not a space for someone to just do a certification over a weekend and be able to just coach people on how to live their life. I don't know. Like, I understand the intent, and I also think a lot of it's ignorance, to be honest. Like, people don't have that layer, that perspective, that understanding. And sometimes they think that they're helping and the intent might be there. But a lot of the times I worry for them.
And you got to protect your own energy too. Psychologists have their own psychologists, because imagine all day hearing about people's issues that you're helping them through. Like, you're still a human at the end of the day. It's a lot to wear. So be mindful when if you do want to embark on that journey, because it's a lot for you to wear as well. But like, I remember when I started working in a gym, I would say, I do your programming, I do nutrition, and I do mindset. But I just meant the word mindset as, small habit building.
Yeah, mindset has layers.
Go for a walk in the sun. I don't know.
Self-care.
Self-care coach almost. But like, the word mindset back then just meant little things like that, like giving your friends Atomic Habits and just light things that were safe. But now it gets deep. So the word mindset coach, I don't know. It's like, how deep can people take it? And obviously really deep when they don't even know what they're doing. So that's the difference. Because it's all good to say that you're a mindset coach and be quite surface level, but like, just be mindful. What do they actually mean by mindset?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Confidence comes in like a inverted U, right? Like a smiley face. At the start, when you've got like no knowledge and you're really ignorant and everything's great, you've got you have an inflated sense of confidence and self-esteem. You're like, I know everything, macros, protein, carbs, fats, do that, right? Like, you've got an inflated sense of confidence. And then as you become more educated, you're like, oh my God, I know nothing. Like, the more you know, the less you know, right? Like, you lose your confidence. And then, right, the experts are sort of come back up. They're like, no, this is my specialty. I've spent, a decade studying research on this, and they've got that confidence back. And then there's that sort of like bit in between where you know what you don't know, but you don't have the confidence to then direct people. And I feel like that's okay to sit in there. Like you said, I think mindset is a normal part of most coaching in general, but it's surface level, it's light, it's habits, it's self-care, it's routine, it's structure, it's direction, it's curiosity. It's not directing or telling people what to do or digging, and asking to unpack certain things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's important, or we think it's important, to just, you got to take ownership too. Because here we can talk about people editing their photos, scamming people through their marketing and quick fixes, doing things that they're not qualified for. But we as a consumer need to take ownership too, because it's easy to blame someone else. But then, yes, these people might never change, but it doesn't mean that you have to engage in them. Yeah. Take time. And I know you might feel desperate to reach your goal. You might be wanting to move away from a shit time in your life, but like, slow down, give yourself the space, do your research, at least the best to your ability anyway.
Yep.
And if you don't know where to look, just ask questions. You can never ask too many questions. And do your research on the person that you're about to engage. There's social media, there's Google, look them up on YouTube, like, find out, are they actually practicing what they preach? The clues are there.
Yep, absolutely. Success leaves clues. One thing I like to remind myself is that everything's my fault. Like, if I get scammed, it's my fault. I picked them. If I get a bad coach, it's my fault. I picked them. If I end up in a situation that I don't want to be in, I probably didn't flag it soon enough. Probably didn't communicate. It's my fault, right? And whoever holds the ownership holds the power. So like, when you can hold that ownership and be like, damn, I probably should have picked up on this red flag, or I should have done my research, or I should have just noticed that sooner, or I should have spoken up when I knew it wasn't right the first time. When we take action and we take ownership, we reclaim the power. But so many people are so quick to pass the ownership, and therefore they pass the power, and they go, that was your bad. And then all of a sudden they get the power and you're powerless over there. So I like to remind myself that everything's my fault, the good and the bad, right? Like I take my wins, but then I take my losses too. And that just gives me that power to make sure that, you know, if we run into anything that we've been speaking about today, I'm like, I should have probably gotten more curious. I should have asked more questions. And that's okay. You know, it's a lesson learned.
You got to be kind to yourself with that mindset, because I'm like you in a sense. You just take ownership and then it's easier in a sense, but like don't beat yourself up over it.
Yes, take ownership and like do something
in
with
a
it.
good way.
Yep.
And yes, you make mistakes, and I've made mistakes bloody so many times. I make them all the time, but like if you just literally take the ownership, as you said, yes, you're still going to probably feel bad for a while, but then you just get over it and go, well, hopefully I won't make that mistake again, or now I know what questions to ask. Like you might lose money or whatever, but it's like, okay, well, it is what it is. I'm here now. That won't happen again because I know what to look for. They're a shit person. I fell for it. And then you just move on.
Yep. It's like that bad boyfriend in year 9. You're like, shouldn't have done it.
I didn't have any boyfriends in year 9. I was a nerd.
Oh, all right. Well, we live and learn, right? Never fool me once, shame on them. Fool me twice, shame on me. Hindsight's a great thing. But yes, even, you know, for today, we really just wanted to bring some light on some areas that honestly, they're a bit cringy and they need to be spoken about and they need to be made aware of. And, you know, a lot of this stuff, common sense isn't common with a lot of things because it's just not. It's like no one speaks about it. It's like this big taboo thing. And especially in specific niches and industries, it's like everyone on the inside knows and no one on the outside does, especially with fitness. It's like everyone on the inside knows all this stuff and these things don't work. But like the people that's actually affecting on the outside, the people on the inside don't want to say it because they don't want to, like, you know, be bad or go against people, their friends or whatever it might be. But we were sort of like, you know what? I feel like the conversation needs to be had.
Definitely. So keep your BS radar on. But then if you find good people and good processes, keep them really close because they're not easy to find.
Yeah.
If you're enjoying the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and hit follow so you can stay up to date with our weekly podcast.